In this video, how to install Windows XP on both old and new computers. First, you'll need to download the Windows XP ISO file. If you don't have a specific reason to use the 64-bit version, it's best to install Windows XP with Service Pack 3. This gives you better compatibility and makes it easier to find drivers. Finding drivers for Windows XP 64-bit can be very difficult. You can search for and download the ISO image from the internet. Alternatively, if you have an MSDN subscription, you can download installation images for nearly every Microsoft product, including Windows XP, even though it is no longer supported. With a subscription, you can also get product keys for installation and activation. Before you start, you need to set up your BIOS. This is because Windows XP doesn't support Secure Boot, UEFI, or GPT partition styles. Turn off Secure Boot. Change the boot mode to Legacy or Legacy Support to install Windows XP. On some motherboards, the OS-optimized defaults are set for newer Windows versions. You need to change this to another OS to allow older operating systems to work. Sometimes, if you are installing from a USB boot drive, make sure the USB Legacy option is turned on in your BIOS. First, let's cover the case where you have an older system that came with IDE SATA mode. You can easily install Windows XP from a CD or DVD drive. You can check if your system supports IDE mode in your computer's BIOS. Under the SATA controller option, you can switch it to IDE or compatible mode to natively support Windows XP. However, when using this mode, advanced features like extra bandwidth, native command queuing, and hot plugging will not be available. In the next part of this video, I will show you how to install Windows XP using HCI mode to achieve better performance. After setting your BIOS to IDE mode, you just need to burn the Windows XP ISO file to a bootable CD. When burning a bootable CD, it is recommended to burn at a slower speed. This will take longer, but it will help ensure the disk can be used for installation. Once done, connect the CD drive with the bootable CD to the computer where you want to install Windows XP and start the computer from the CD. Follow the instructions on the screen to install Windows. Press Enter to install. Format the partition using the NTFS file system quick. Restart the computer to the second stage of Windows XP installation. Configure the regional and language. Enter the name and organization. Type the product key to continue. Configure the computer name and admin password. And set the date and time settings. As you can see, the Windows XP has been installed successfully with the IDE mode. In the second scenario, we will install Windows XP on new hardware using the HCI SATA mode. As you can see, on newer systems, the IDE mode is not available. Only HCI or RAID modes are supported. When installing Windows in this mode, you will encounter two blue screen errors. The first error relates to the ACPI driver. You can bypass this by pressing the F7 key instead of the F6 key during the Windows XP installation. However, in this video, I will show you how to patch it to fully support ACPI in Windows XP. This is the second blue screen error. You get this because, by default, Windows XP does not support SATA HCI. Therefore, we need to integrate the SATA controller driver into the Windows XP installation media. This will allow us to install Windows with HCI mode. You need the original Windows XP ISO file. You will need the Nlight tool. This tool helps you combine drivers and rebuild the ISO image, or burn a bootable CD. You also need the Cab Pack tool. This tool is for patching ACPI files and changing cabinet files. And you will need the ACPI patches. In this video, I will install the 32-bit version of Windows. There are many patches you can use. I suggest you try this one first. Finally, you need the universal SATA controller drivers. You can find the drivers you need on this forum. I suggest you try the universal SATA controller drivers first. The first step is patch this file using the Cab Pack tool. Select the ACPI patch file as your source file. Choose where you want to save the new file. Leave all settings as default, and in the cabinet name template, type this name, and then click OK. You can see that the file has been created. Now, extract the Windows ISO file to a folder on your computer. Go to the i386 folder inside that folder. Arrange the files by size. Then, copy the sp3.cab file for patching. Next, extract the sp3.cab file using 7-zip into a folder. Copy the ACPI patch file into this new folder. Replace the file that is already there. Lastly, open the Cab Pack tool again. Now, put the sp3 folder into a new cabinet file. You now have two files ready. Let's copy them and put them into the i386 folder of your Windows XP files. Replace the old ones. We have done for ACPI patching. In the next, let's install the Nlight program and open it. Click on the Browse button and choose the extracted Windows source folder. You can skip this step. Select the drivers and bootable ISO tasks, then click Next. Click the Insert button. Find the folder with the SATA drivers you got from the WinRaid forum. You can see that the driver has been added successfully. With this tool, you can burn the changed files directly to a bootable CD, or you can make an ISO image and burn it with other software. You can also make a bootable USB drive. For example, I will use a program called AnyBurn to burn the newly created ISO file to a CD. When burning a bootable CD, it is recommended to burn at a slower speed. This will take longer, but it will help ensure the disk can be used for installation. When you are done, you can use the bootable CD to install Windows XP. As you can see, we can now install Windows XP without any problems. After installing Windows XP, you might see many unknown devices in the device manager. So, we need to install drivers manually. However, on the motherboard website, you will find no drivers for Windows XP available for download. To do this, we can use the Snappy Driver Installer. This is a free driver solution for Windows and supports Windows XP. Let's download the offline driver package to install drivers without an internet connection. At this time, the package size is 44 gigabytes and can be downloaded using a torrent client only. For example, I will download it using QBitTorrent. Once done, you can remove the hard disk from the Windows XP machine and connect it to this machine using an HDD box or SATA cable. Copy the downloaded driver package to the Windows XP disk. Once finished, connect the disk to the Windows XP machine and turn it on. Select all drivers for installation. As you can see, the network driver is installed. This is the most important because we can now access the internet from Windows XP. If the network driver cannot be installed, you can try purchasing a PCI Ethernet or Wi-Fi card that still supports Windows XP. In the Device Manager, you can see most devices are working normally. If you're using an NVIDIA GPU, this is latest driver version still support Windows XP. And here is the list of supported graphic cards. For Windows Update, you can visit the legacyupdate.net to download and install all available updates for Windows XP. In Windows XP, you can use the Internet Explorer 8, Supermium, and Maple as the web browsers. VLC can be used as the media player, and the 7-zip is the software for archiving. Alternatively, if you don't have a CD or DVD drive, you can create a USB bootable device to install Windows XP. First, download this USB boot drive software. Since we're creating a Windows XP installation, make sure you download the legacy version of the tool. The first step is to select your USB device from the list. Once the USB drive is selected, we need to format it as FAT32 and wipe the USB disk. Please back up any data on the USB drive before creating the USB bootable device. The next step is to select a distribution. Let's scroll down and select the single Windows XP installer. In the last step, let's select the ISO image file with drivers integrated that you created in the previous steps. Finally, click the Create button to make the USB bootable device. Click No, and then plug this USB device into the computer where you want to install Windows XP and boot from it. Select Windows Installer. Select Begin Windows XP Install Stage 1. If you see this blue screen at this step, you can check the video description to fix it. Install Windows XP as usual. The computer will restart. At this moment, press the boot menu key repeatedly to boot from the USB bootable device one more time, instead of booting from the hard drive. Now, select Continue Windows XP Install Stage 2. This stage will actually install Windows XP onto the hard disk. Once it's done, you can remove the USB bootable device from the computer. Sometimes, you might get stuck at stage 1 when installing Windows XP. To fix this, you need to edit the ISO file that was created by Enlight. To edit the ISO file, I will use a free tool called AnyBurn. If you don't have it installed, you need to install it first. Select Edit Image File and browse to the ISO file created by Enlight. Now, remove all last session configuration files. These files are created when you customize the installation using Enlight. At this step, you can create a new ISO file. For example, I will overwrite the original file. Once done, you can try to recreate the bootable USB device from the newly created ISO file. As you can see, the error is gone and we can continue installing Windows XP as usual. That's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and see you in the next videos.